Okay, so I'm sitting outside again, and this is day 2. Let's talk about something. I was going to talk about something else earlier, but I think that this merits an examination, if you will. So I'm often in tension, attention, tension, tensegrity with the ideas that we have around, manifesting or energy or alignment. And the reason I often have a bone to pick with it is because I'm, and perhaps this is another offered perspective. There's a million of them. It's like, that old, adage, so many opinions. And I think that it merits some consideration about whatever pathway you find yourself necessitating in order to arrive at an alignment for yourself. And some of the traditional ideas around these things, some of them I can rock with, and some of them just don't sit right with my spirit. And I think that they don't sit right with my spirit because of the very inherent contradiction in things. And here's my thing. I prepare for contradictions. What I'm not fond of is the idea of attempting to act as if contradictions do not exist and therefore do not necessitate a deeper examination. And so, you can land on many different paths with this thing of your reality, the creation of it, the ideas around it, right? And we're meaning-making machines for sure, and we use a lot of language around the story or narratives and changing your mind and changing your mindset and all of those things. What I think about some of this is that, well, one, I think it's a personal job to find the way to access that for yourself, a way that actually makes sense. And I want to be really intentional about the use of the word sense here, S-E-N-S-E. Because, sense is about the activation of your senses, all of them, and not just the 5 ones listed traditionally, but all of them, right? Your entire field. And the inability to understand, or the lack of exposure to the idea that you have the right to be in inquiry with things in a way that you can accept or reject is kind of bizarre to me, right? Where it's wait, hold on a minute. I think we would function best if we name something as this is what works for me. And if it may not work for you, right? So we're going to put that there as a foundation. One of the things that have really stirred my pot around the idea of reality creation, and this is coming from a person whose priorities and values have been surrounded around family, community, and when I think of well-being, or I think of change or changing the world type of idea, I think of it from whatever I'm doing is not just for me. And I spoke on this yesterday because I think that this is important, because I think that for me personally, in the exploration of ideas, I myself have gotten lost in other people's machinations around what they need in order to be positioned in a particular way to access the fullness of themselves, right? Whereas there's a million ideas out there, a million meaning-making machines, and it can be overwhelming and it can be confusing, and you can be trying out shit that from the gate actually doesn't speak to you, but because you may be desperate or you may be struggling, you're I'll try anything, right? And that makes total sense. That's not a judgment. It just makes sense. And if the teachers, if the conduits or the vessels of the information are not reminding you that your work is to find your path, and that part of that, this is why I'm a big like quantum human design. I mean, I'm a certified reader, because that's how much I personally, right? How much human design has been medicine for me, despite the fucking idea that it's white man who was the vessel of delivery. But the vessel of delivery in terms of the one who in a generation was able to garner notice due to a system that showed preference to him, even his spirituality, even if he was like some fucking hippie. It didn't care. White supremacy and domination, colonialism does not fucking care whether you're whatever you think you are. It will pre-categorize you and either deny you access or grant you access. And the reason why this is important is because we do have to have a conversation around appropriation and around those things. And as a person of color, or a person who has more connection to my roots, my diverse roots, the conversation that my community, my folks need to have that contextually align with my experience are different than the conversation that folks who are able to benefit from the constructs, right? And the reason why this matters is because we have to know the nuance of the conversation and for who it is. And yes, you can get overwhelmed with the amount of nuance necessary to have a conversation. Then don't fucking have a conversation if you don't want to be nuanced in it. Because you're operating in a world that does have many realities, and so fucking prize, people are impacted by other people's realities, and you can't fucking manifest that shit away, and you can't fucking ignore that, and you can't dismiss it. When you do, then you are living in a hyper isolated world, and you might as well go look in the mirror and talk to yourself, because you have no business talking to anybody else if you cannot account for the fact that that is also a reality that we live inside of, right? And I think that when I came across, and I want to talk about this for a minute because I had a lot of reservations. As someone who explored, I explored Reiki, I explored Muneki, I've explored some traditions that I think are beautiful, I think are gorgeous. And I was still hungry for something that spoke profoundly to my unique DNA, right? Like unique in what informs it. And I wanted to connect to something that I felt had more energetic oomph because of its connection to my own experience, existence, and lineage. And that may be just my work, right? That may be just my preference. But if you're someone who has been inside of this conversation, I think it's important to make the space to name the thing without the need to solve the thing or fix the thing, but that we're like, oh, I was thinking about this. When I came across quantum human design, I had really fucking strong reservations because of its source, but I also can't give credit as if this person is the only person who brought this forward. This person received the notoriety as someone who channeled it because this person lived in a world that was rising in favor of white, racialized as white voices. And we still exist in that. That's still a thing. But the way this medicine that's ancient because it combined ancient medicine, gave language to something to me that became powerful in knowing myself even more deeply, that resonated with me. It resonated. I couldn't argue its resonance for me. Reiki was beautiful, but outside of my scope. Now, mind you, I did the thing, Reiki Master, all of the thing. But before that title came into my universe, I was already doing healing work, energy work. It was just called by another name, right? I was also already tuning into herbal plant medicine and the way that medicine has the power to shift things. So we have some layers around this, right? And for me, the resonance of the human design was unmistakable. So I had to examine, I had to question, I had to step into it with a generosity of spirit to try to understand what was resonating for me. Of course, it has Jewish Kabbalah in it, so that's an easy, right? Astrology, I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, something I was already quasi-familiar with, right? And this gave me a way of understanding myself, right? It was a tool. It's a tool that allows me to have clarity around what frequencies and what particular practices would actually be in the highest service of my being. So I don't have to go out there struggling, just trying random shit. I can be like, in my particular design, for example, my environment is blended caves. And there's a series of environments. And in your chart, you fall into one. And what's beautiful about this is not about being tightly defined. This is about a blueprint that is in practice and you decondition to get to this, your core. And mine is blended caves. So that means I love cozy, cavey feelings, vibes, all of those things, experiences environmentally. And also the reason why it's blended is because I'm okay with others being inside of that with me. So I love having family dinners. I love things like that. And it's been a while. Excuse me. I'm just just clearing my throat. Having said that, the thing that I love about it is that when you have the tools, the practices, the filters that allow you to orient toward things that actually resonate for you, you don't have to go around trying every single thing in the universe as if it's candy without honoring, right? That's exploitive. That's extraction. There is a lack of respect and honor that accompanies that type of engagement. It's like, I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to take that. I'm not going to consider, again, important conversation. I'm not going to consider that I'm over here doing yoga. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I think it's beautiful. The asanas are one aspect of an entire philosophy of life. Meanwhile, somebody over here is making money on it and somebody in India can't even have access to it. That is a reality that demands of us to move much more consciously and not get, stuck in paralysis. Although that's going to happen as part of the process of trying to understand how you are going to walk in conscious honor of the world around you and what is going on and what is happening. Now, some folks are really excited about this shit and they're like, oh, it's, we're all one. It's all everybody's medicine. Oh, yeah. And the fact that you can ignore the suffering and extract the benefit should tell you about the conditioning you've received and the mindset that allows you to continue to operate as if you are an island alone. Right? And so I'm weaving something here. So the tools become filters. The knowing of myself, the constant awareness and turning my orientation into my inner knowing, not as definitive, but as something in active dynamic growth and practice and evolution, I can understand that a particular thing, a particular practice and or mindset resonates for me more than another, and that I can examine that and I can build relationship with that and find my way with it and make it mine and integrate it, make it mine. What I mean by make it mine, this is really important, because what I mean by make it mine, meaning that it comes into my life and I don't surrender to it. I am not without sovereignty. I'm not without agency. I'm not without the capacity to bring my offering to it as it is bringing its offering to me. And when that dynamic is happening, when that relationship is happening, then I'm able to step into my life force with conviction, with alignment, with ferocity, with beauty, with integrity, right? Because I've taken the time to actually understand the kind of things that would speak to me deeply, and also enjoy the confidence of knowing that I don't have to be absent in order to receive this practice or this new information. And that I get to redefine the alchemy of it with me. I alchemize, you alchemize, we all alchemize. So back to this idea of reality creation and manifesting and all of these things, whatever you want to call it, for fuck's sake, there's so many names for things, right? Whatever you want to call it. But what really is at the root of what I'm trying to communicate is that when we're talking about the meaning making inside of this, or the stories, and I'm very careful with this because I think that as someone who's had experiences, a lack of access at times, a lack of resource, a lack of struggle, not because I'm entirely unresourced, but because there are aspects of that resource that I don't have in the moment. I'm unable to unpack, or I'm unable to experience for whatever the myriad of reasons are. I have to be able to name that, and I have to be able to be with that, and I have to be able to see what's it about, right? I have to be able to examine what's happening. I find it incredibly disrespectful, incredibly gaslighty, and incredibly hyper-individualistic to discount all these other realities in the world, right? Like, I would still have to garner the vote of humans in order to become a leader in something. And even that, I will still have to contend with the belief systems of other people around what it means to be a woman. Because we still live in that. There are some states in the United States that is not united at all. Some states where women don't have the right to make decisions over their bodies. How do you explain that shit? How do you tell somebody there that that's the story that they're writing? How do you tell somebody that's the meaning that they're making, as if that's the thing that they're choosing? There's a whole fucking section of the manual missing when it comes to these things. And I think it matters. And so my bone to pick around this stories and around redefining your stories and their meanings, I think it's important. And simultaneously, I do not wish to look to the past and be like, I had this experience because I wrote it into my story, and I'm making meaning that this was personal because it happened to me. What the fuck? It didn't happen to anybody else. It happened to me. You can't get any more personal than that. But what that means to me doesn't mean that I warranted it, I wanted it, I wanted to have this experience, and therefore because of that, I'm a shit person, or there's something faulty in me that this experience has come into my field. I think that's complete bullshit. What I can say is that I understand that I've had a series of experiences in my life that have demanded my attention and have demanded of me to step into a different type of relationship with it, so that I understand that what has happened in the past, the truth of this human experiences, is that it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to happen in the now or in the future. It doesn't necessarily mean, right? Like the possibilities is what we're actually talking about, and trying to get people to entertain that the possibility is that things can be different. And that's why this is important, right? So, and I'm going to use myself because this is the whole point of the fuck I'm doing, right? Because I often tell people, I tell my stories or I talk about things not because I want to fucking talk about things like that. It's because I have consent to tell my own story, and I don't want to be using other people's stories as proxies for making a point. If I'm not going through the experience or living it, I don't want to fucking talk about it. I have no business talking about it. Point blank. To me, that's just a point blank. I have no business. I want to talk about things that I am in relationship with, because that's where the alchemy and the power exists for me. I can't outsource that shit. I just can't outsource that shit. I can't fall into that fucking... I despise that shit, man. I really do. I dislike it, because I'm like, we're like talking in the third person of somebody else, and not even, again, back to this keeping it real. So let me go back. Tangent. A good tangent, anyway. I am having experiences that are really challenging. And in having the experiences that are really challenging, that have existed in a pattern of sorts, each time a little different, I can be with the idea and sit with the possibility that tomorrow that can change. If you've heard me talk about it. I've struggled with financial resource. And that's a story as much as a reality, as much as a past. And simultaneously, I could get a call tomorrow. And this is what we're talking about. I don't want to go back and change the story of the past. That shit happened. That's how I experienced it. That's how you can ask the light company. They experienced it too. They experienced not getting the money for the light that they were giving me. And it's not free in the world that I live in. Ideally, it would be. Ideally, water would be free, light would be free, housing would be free. Everybody deserves, you don't have to earn care. It is the human, it is the right for the human experience to have that. So, and when I'm unable to do those things, I made it last month because I had to ask a friend, who I owe. And I had to reach out to another friend to ask if she could cover my medication. And there aren't words for how much discomfort it causes me to even say these things out loud. Because for sure it's had some meaning, and for sure in the context of my conditioning, and then in the context of being a healer, a priestess, whatever the fuck, give it a million titles. It's not as exciting. And with all of that experience, with all of those nuances and all of those pieces, I could get a call tomorrow and somebody be like, hey, I got you. And I don't have to worry about rent. I don't have to worry about being backed up. I don't have to worry about my taxes, which are still not done. I probably have 2 years, 3 years of taxes undone. And I cannot tell you, I cannot explain how much that upsets me, and also how much I don't give a fuck at this point. I'm trying to figure out some basics here. But at the core of this is the idea, can I hold the possibility that today and tomorrow can be different without me necessitating going back to my past and gaslighting myself into a different experience of the story in either direction, right? Whether it's in the thing where, there were other possibilities, blah, 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 or, I'm not being irresponsible, blah. Like if I need to confront that idea in the story. Whatever they were, whatever they are, whatever the meanings have been there in the past. And while that perspective can inform how I see the future, my job is to bring myself back to center over and over again. My job is never going to be, at least for me, my job is never going to be to create a degree of self-harm because I'm trying to, not be such a meaning-making machine, or examine the meanings and then shit on myself because I made this meaning instead of that meaning, and then later on shit on myself because I didn't do this, didn't do that, or I understood it this way. Do you see how cumbersome, how irksome some of the ideas are? And I think the practice is to examine, and the practice is also to be like, all right, but tomorrow can be different. I recently witnessed someone close to me receive $1 million. $1 million. It was a generous, beyond words, a generous gift given to this person. And from night to day, their life changed. And that is a no strings attached, no. And that, if that is not a testament to a possibility, I don't know what is, right? And did the person have to engage in practices in order to be able to sustain or fill in the whatever the fucking thing is, because we love to do that, because we love to hyper individuate the access that happens by prescribing a set of, I did this right, and therefore I earned it anyway, because that gives us a sense of power, right? A sense, and I don't mean that in a negative way or in a judgmental way. I mean that this is how we gain the confidence and the essence and the surety around ourselves, is when we see particular results based on what we're perceiving to be our effort. And this is the second layer that I want to introduce about the way we need to examine this. Because I rarely ever hear a conversation about the universe or God, goddess, whatever you want to call it. I rarely hear that. I rarely hear that part of the conversation. I rarely hear the mystery, the essential erotic mystery of life in its own context. I'm often hearing how much humans have figured out how to control energy rather than be in relationship. I hear a lot of humans either going in one direction or the other, where they are God and the others are like miles, centuries away from God or spirit or universe or ancestors, whatever, painted in a way that makes sense for you. Something about that disturbs me. Something about this idea of being removed from, I'm going to call it right relationship and a balanced relationship with both experiences. And what I mean by that is that, yes, you are the divine is in you, and the divine is greater than you, and the things that keep the world going round are mysterious indeed. As much as we try to scientifically explain the shit out of everything, or we spiritually try to, wow, that was a very like Tweety Bird moment, or maybe Elmer Fudd. We really try, we really try to grab a hold. And I know that in some way what I'm saying is also purporting, thank you, birds, is also purporting the idea, again, of like a practice or a solution. But there's nothing I can do about that. All I can say is that I'm willing to examine the relationship I have to mystery, which sometimes I adore and fucking love, and other times I'm like, I do not like not knowing. I want to fucking know. I want to be deeply in relational intercourse with magic and the Holy One of Blessing, right? I want to know, like Yaakov knew Rachel. I want to know, right? And I understand that I swear I do not know if tomorrow will come or not. I'm assuming, Bezrat Hashem, I'd be granted to see my great-great-grandchildren. I would like at least one, maybe two. Two would be like a jackpot, 2 generations after. So I have a granddaughter now, and a great-grandchild, and then a great-great-grandchild. If I could do a family picture like that, oh, that would be holy, sacred. That would be so fucking gorgeous. Anyway, I digress. Back to what we were saying. So if we're missing the element of the reality that we can be impacted by, and the multiplicitous realities, and we are missing the element of the unknown, the actuality of the unknown, which is where possibility exists, then what we are left with is an opportunity to reorient to the idea that if we bring those things in conversation, not to be figured out, not to be manipulated or controlled, but to be in dynamic relational engagement with it, with curiosity and however that shows up. Because if an experience is causing pain for whatever reason, I don't want to judge that. I just don't want to judge it. I'm tired of that shit. I'm tired of the shit in the well-being, spiritual. I'm tired of all the shit. I was just fucking tired of it. And I'm a teacher of it, right? Like I'm here to create space for these conversations and to share what it looks like living through me. And because of the demands that often these things have, and it's not the things themselves, it's the fucking people. We're like batshit bananas. We're high on our own supply type of shit, man. Forgetting that the plants are the thing giving us the medicines, We're like, well, my particular recipe is the shit. I invested 3 fast and 4, blocks of tourmaline, 22 quarts, 3 rose petals, and I spit to the south and the east 5 times. My shit is the shit. My shit is the shit, but my shit is the shit for who the shit is for. And it's also, I am in a relationship and I'm trying to listen, and I'm in my listening, I can see that the plant world, the more than natural world, or whatever we want to call it, if I understand them to be beings, then the fuck do I know? What the fuck do I know? Something that somebody else told me? So if we come back to this relationship and we come back to this possibility that the tomorrow, it's 111, that tomorrow, that's the time right now, May 26th, the 10th of Sivan, 5786, and 2026. There's something here that if we can dance with it, if we can dance with the mystery of tomorrow and the mystery of the next moment, and hold it in possibility despite and in relationship to the experience we are having, holding that the experience you are having, you have feelings about, and to you those feelings create meanings that in the moment seem very present, but also will be gone the next, if you can let it, right? Like if you can allow yourself to be like, oh, right now I feel like I failed. And then when I look at my life and I look at my experience, I'm like, Heifer, what you failed at? I've been taking care of my family. I've been taking care of the people that I love. I've been also trying to do my best and caring for myself in the same way I'm trying to take care of the people that I love. What did I feel at? And also I live in the mystery, and also I'm impacted by other things. They are not greater forces. They are not greater forces. They are equal in experience to the creation, right? Meaning that people are creating the experience, and so I'm experiencing it too, because I live in the world. Surprise! But that does not equate the final verdict or the only dimension at play. And because I know that as well, and I know that there is something to me, right? For me, there's something greater inside and outside of me. Then that allows me to see what's next with possibility. I look at all the shit, and I was texting with a beloved earlier, and I was like, yo, you know, the weight of the matriarch is heavy. It's heavy. There's so many things you see. There's so many things you want to do. There's so many things you're holding. We were never meant to be holding this alone. I shared a post, reposted on my Instagram, this sharing. It's from an indigenous community around motherhood. I'm like, oh, I've been doing this shit by myself. I've been holding the heart of my family for as long as I can remember. And I remember my mom holding a piece of that, and I held a piece of it, and so on and so forth. And that what's eroding at that is the hyper-individualism. What's eroding at that is the fear. And what's so funny to me, or comical in that way that's like mind-blowing, is that people committed to abundant thinking are still reacting and responding out of a scarcity relationship. And that astonishes me. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, so really you believe there's limitations because, okay, you know, and we must leave each other in the journey of understanding ourselves inside of that. But the constraints that have been placed, the conditioning that has been placed by a society whose values are inherently fragmentative. That's not a word, but we're going to go with that. It's meant to fragment so that the field is never unified in like active force, right? Power. When a field becomes unified, then the speed of that, the force of that is impactful in so many ways. But if you keep everything in fragmentation, then it's harder to see the shape and the form, and harder to create the momentum that, you know, the quantum momentum that happens as a result of unifying. Unifying does not blur everything. Unifying is the bringing together of the pieces that create the whole, and the whole is the pieces, and the pieces is the whole. If we're able to step into that, if we're able to hold the texture of that, if we're able to see the both and instead of trying to adjust past narratives, and instead of trying to gaslight the somatic body, which again, disrespectful. We're over here, the body's so important. The body, you know, the body remembers, the body feels, the body this, and then you're telling your body, you know, that experience you had was just, you know, it was your imagination, how you interpreted it. Harmful, damaging, but no, that was your imagination. So you might want to redefine that, you know. You might want to change your perspective on that. And your body's like, wait, what? Oh, no. We had that experience. That was something we experienced, and it was harmful. And deserving or not, that deserving is not a conversation inside of that. Because it's still based on a merit. If your abundance, if your success, if your access is based on a merit system, you are still using humans' designed, machinations around it. Because only humans designed the merit system. Humans created these containers because they felt so unspecial. So unspecial, and needed to have something to claim as an identity, as something to put on. I don't think we need that anymore. I don't think we need those kind of those aids. I think what we need is a base level of respect for the mystery as much as that which is seen and known, and simultaneously the openness and the capacity to entertain that in the unknown anything is possible, and that with that myriad of experiences may happen, and so it is constantly an active force, a dynamic active force. And for me, that's where I've arrived at. I don't know how anything is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. What I do know is that right here, right now, the things that are in priorities are the people that I love, are myself, is the new child that has entered my family. They are a tomorrow. They represent something really sacred to me. And so, therefore, that is important to me beyond measure. When I'm no longer in this physical form here, some people will remember me, some people won't. But I'm positively sure that the people that I love that are closest to me will not forget my presence or my absence. So I'd rather be present as much as I'm able to, right? That's important to me. I don't know what'll happen. I don't know if tomorrow a door opens, something beyond measure happens. I don't know. So rather than holding what's going to happen today or tomorrow in some sort of case, which this is what we're talking about really, right? In some sort of defined meaning, because I actually don't know, and I actually cannot control whether I'm here tomorrow or not. I know some people want to be doing that. I know some people want to live forever and all of those good things. I'm happy for you. And I'm happy that you think you're in the idea that you control all of that. I've buried too many people at this point to take on that perspective. Having said that, that means this moment and the next moment is available to be pregnant with a possibility that I haven't fathomed or imagined. I think that's exciting. And that's the texture that I want to hold. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. What I do know is that these old school, I'm going to say old school because they're not new. These ideas around manifesting, these ideas around narratives, meaning making, all of those things, going back to rewrite, going back to shit, all of that shit, I think some things have their place in some places, but they just don't rock with me. And for a long time, I've contended with it. And I'm at a place, thank you, perimenopause, who gives zero fucks. I swear she gives zero fucks about what you think. She will force you to tell a truth, a dynamic truth, one that is evolving and growing, to accept, to acknowledge where it's at and where it isn't. And it just isn't there for me with that shit. And I don't care what guru, I don't care what teacher, I don't care what biblical verse, I don't give a shit. If it cannot hold the whole of me, of my community's experience, the whole of it all, the pieces without the necessitating of diminishing or hyper controlling my feelings or my thoughts, then it's not for me. But if it can hold all of it, if it can hold the experiences I've had, both the ways that I've been impacted, the ways I've impacted, the ways I've chosen and have dealt with the consequences, neutral, good, challenging, all of the things, excuse me, then that for me seems like a generative perspective, a generative praxis, a generative concept that does not demand of me to teach you a lesson, but allows me to walk with you in my humanity and yours. That's it. That's all I have to say. Yep. That's all I have to say. I think it's time for me to go in. I'm thirsty. Need some water with lemon. I've been consuming water with lemon. So thirsty for it. And yeah, I got some things to do. And hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. It's my second day. So we'll see what happens. What else emerges and bubbles forward. But I'll be here tomorrow again. Adiós. Te amo. Te deseo lo mejor. Goodbye. I love you. I wish you the best. Until next time.